and look, in a little case study on that, the first AI artist that got a deal actually by the same record label, it was Hallwood Records. Anyway, but it's I'm Oliver. And what was interesting, we were looking at this yesterday. This artist got signed because the track, I think it's Stone. So the song got 3 million streams on Suno. And so I think from this, the AI creator got a deal, and then the song was released onto regular platforms. And what I saw is that it looks like it didn't translate. So I think as these labels are kind of taking a gamble and seeing if this can translate, can they monetize AI music? Because who cares about the journey? Who cares if it's not a real whatever, if people are listening, you know? And so I go, it's interesting to look at that as, if it performs and does well, then they're probably just going to keep doing this.
When Suno first was like new and it was on Suno 2.5, I was super curious if like I could just run ads on a AI project and what would people say? Like how quickly would they call it out? And so I made this like AI metal artist with they had an Instagram page, a Facebook page. I made fake pictures of the band. I made AI videos of the band. And then we marketed it. And we got this project to 30,000 monthly listeners. And there were people like DMing us saying like, this is like my favorite new band. Like, we love it. When are you coming to my town? Can we do collaborations? And I thought it was going to flop when I first did it. I was like, there's no way this is going to work. And this will be a fun YouTube video. And instead the YouTube video was just kind of like, holy crap, people are willing to listen to AI music and not notice it. And I think like, as artists and music people, we all immediately hear it. You can hear like the weird like vocal things and the artifacts and whatever. But it is a little frightening that the average consumer would not know off of hearing this. Like, we had 30,000 monthly listeners when we were pushing it. And like the project was actually profitable because of the like huge algorithmic push. And it was even added to some like official playlist by a label. So even the label didn't catch it.
Well, that's a testament to your marketing, I think.
There you go.
So
I'll tell you,
a little frightening, honestly, as an actual artist. I was a little scared when that happened. And it's been multiple years now, and like AI music still isn't mainstream and a lot of people hate it. So that's made me a little bit comforted in a way too, but it's weird. I feel weird about it as an artist.
Right now, I can tell usually in the vocals that like, oh, this is AI vocals. And when I get it in my Discover Weekly, I go to the artist and I tell it to not play that artist. Like it may be, objectively good songwriting or by all other metrics, but yeah, I'm not personally a fan.
Well, and as we've been covering this, I'm like, there's a curiosity factor, okay? Because when all the AI bands, the Ventus, the Velvet Sundown, they just exploded on Spotify and pushed up hundreds of thousands, then became millions. But as the interest has died down a little bit, you see some of those numbers deflating, but with this new signed artist, Monet, that I had mentioned, right now it's 600,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, and it is consistent, not just Spotify, but there's also that engagement on YouTube. But, how much of it is just curiosity?
It's the Zania Monet one with like 7.
Yep, you got it.
Well, so to jump around a little bit then, since we're already on the subject of AI, how do you guys see AI shaping the industry for new artists? Is it an opportunity? Is it a threat?
Well, we've covered this at length on both sides of the discussion, right? One of them is, this is a great thing, right, for Monet, right? So this new artist who just got this $3 million deal, meaning the creator, the actual human behind this, because it's an actual lyricist, right? It's a poet, and the lyrics are pretty good in the songs, right? And so you might argue that this is a vehicle that has allowed this creator to be seen. And she's been signed, like I said, by this record label that is known for songwriters and producers, you know what I'm saying? So I go, all right, that's interesting. And also there's talk about how she is putting in additional stuff into Suno, these live elements. I don't know what that means. But to the extent, what I can tell you is that like with our clients, there are a lot of people in between being a prompter of just going onto Suno and putting in some words, right? And then you have AI music versus you build the entire instrumental. You have the lyrics, you have the melodies, you have all this stuff. And then you have Suno essentially finish it. And so it's tough, obviously, to draw a hard line one way or another because there's so much variance in between of how people are just using AI in their creation process now.
Yeah. I don't, a lot of artists are freaking out about it. And I don't think they need to freak out as much as they are in terms of like worrying if like this is the death of music or something crazy like that. Just partially because like people connect with real humans and all that, but like also these AI tools, they need like music to train on. And I think if anything, the AI tools are going to get really good at cloning the more like typical music. And then it's going to kind of give artists permission or incentive to get weird with it, so to speak, and to kind of explore. Because I don't know, there's already been slop music for years, right? Like kind of like pop music. A lot of people hate mainstream pop music because of how just like repetitive and cookie cutter and stuff gets. And then you would have like lo-fi hip hop, which just gets thrown on Spotify and other platforms at scale. And then you have like the rain sounds and the white noise sounds getting thrown. All of that dilutes the royalty pool as well. And so I don't know, none of that destroyed the music industry. Sure, it caused bad things in certain ways, but like I don't know. I think a lot of people think it's going to be the death of music, and I've seen people be like, "I'm just going to quit music because of this," and it's like I think that's stupid. And if you're going to quit music because of this, you were never really cut out for this to begin with.
I'm with you on that, especially with the catastrophizers, right? There was something before AI, which was just a issue of oversaturation, which is everyone now has access. All the bedroom producers and singers and songwriters, everyone can be a star. But, with the oversaturation issue now that's being caused by AI music, it was Deezer, so music platform Deezer, streaming platform, that announced that almost a third of all the songs that it ingests now is purely AI music. That's a pretty scary number. And so quite literally, there is oversaturation. It's only going to get worse. So I think some point, there's going to be an extreme disproportionality that happens. And then what will music, human authors do? That's the question.
But even that
The
30%, only 0.5% of the streams on the platform are on that AI music. So it's like it's getting uploaded, but like no one's listening to it.
bingo.
And I think I saw 70% of those streams were fraudulent too. So it's like even the fraction that it represents, they're just like, I think a lot of the people uploading this stuff at scale are mostly just bad actors trying to extract from the royalty pool. They're not the more like real AI artists that are ones that are like, I'm a lyricist, I've never been musically talented and I want to hear my lyrics, or they're like, I've had some people with like disabilities comment on some of my AI videos being like, the first time in my life I can actually like it's like hear the feeling I feel in my head or whatever, or like I can get my thoughts out. And people are using a lot of work with AI to make some cool stuff. Then there's like the slot prompters, but then there's the straight up just like people who are like dumping thousands of songs online and just running bots. And those are like the 30%, I think, the most part is just the slop. Let's take tens of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars from the royalty pool because it's like an unprotected pile of money.
Yeah. The opportunity that I see for artists, especially new artists, but artists, even legacy artists, is as a demoing tool. You think about what it takes for you in a studio. If you're working with, if you're tracking real instruments, you have an idea, you got to go track it and edit it. And by the time you comp performances, to sit back and hear, what if I mixed this idea and this idea? What you can throw into, whatever platform you choose as a demoing tool to be like, if I take something in this vein and this vein and I mix it together, oh, that sounds cool. But then not just hitting upload, now going, okay, something works there. Now I'm going to cut real instruments and refine this, and always coming back to that human iterative element. But I think as a demoing tool, it could expedite the amount of ideas you can explore.
Yeah.
Someone made an interesting comparison. I don't know what you guys think about this, so I'll put it forth. So someone had said, because there's this argument about AI prompters, AI artists are the same, right? They see themselves the same as the more traditional, as we'll call it, musicians and music producers. Well, are they? And someone said something to the effect of, could we put on a robot suit and be in the NBA? Can we put on the gear and the mask and be like, oh no, we're using the AI, but I'm just as good, right, as the NBA player? What do you think?
That's interesting. So it's almost like AI is like steroids or whatever, right? It's kind of like a super suit in this analogy. And I mean, in some ways it's true because you can go in and crank out 100 songs in an afternoon and they'll all be like pretty good. So it's weird. I don't
Yeah.
think the people making like AI music, they're definitely not like the same type of artist as like a regular artist. But I think there's different levels of artistry in those people. Like I know people like you, like, there's all these video AI tools that you can go on like VO and make some AI video that looks kind of cool, and you can stitch those together and make a cool thing. I know a guy who like years ago has started doing AI video on his computer, and he would spend like 100 hours making an AI music video. And so like he would be making like hundreds of prompts and stitching together in After Effects and doing all this crazy work, but with AI video. And you'd look at it, you'd be like, this is art. Like this is actually art. But he's not the same as the person going in like so various whatever Mid-Journey video or VO3 or whatever and typing in a prompt, just like there's this artist called Boy What who like uses AI and voice cloning to make these like masterpiece songs where the voices are all SpongeBob characters. And it takes more work than the human music because he re-records
Good.
all his vocals first and then puts them painstakingly through these like voice AI swappers. Technically, he's stealing the IP of like SpongeBob characters, so he's probably breaking the law there, but like it's so good and it's 100% art. And he's not the same as the voice that like the slop people. So that's how I draw the line at least.
Yeah. It raises so many interesting questions for publicity, right? So when you start hearing, because there was a website that we were following for a while that literally is like, "Hey, we will give you Taylor Swift's voice." Can't do that. But copyright comes up a lot, right? Have you used someone else's song without authorization? Also, trademarks. Are you using a producer tag without authorization? So there's different areas of law. But publicity is someone's voice, their likeness, right? Their actual name. And so these are different violations that are happening with these different AI companies that were just real quick to come to market, and they, didn't get a lawyer, I will say, or they just didn't care in most cases, and they just stole.
Well,
And then you have
from
instances like what you just kind of, pointed out where someone is exercising their creativity and I don't know, maybe he doesn't know.
well, if like from your perspective legally, like if he's getting his vocals, putting it through this AI voice changer. I don't know if he's using like Jammable, which is one of the platforms. There's a bunch of tools that can do it. Um, who he's uploading them to YouTube and he's probably getting ad revenue. He's uploading the streaming platforms and he's making streaming revenue. It like obviously Jammable's breaking the law, I would assume, because they're selling the likeness of this. But like, is he breaking the law?
There's a legal claim against the person who is actually prompting. And what I've said, for someone who, for example, if you get sued because of something that you created through another platform, that platform, including the Sunos and the Udios, in their terms of service, which is the contract you have to agree to when you use their platform, it says if you get sued because of something you did here, you have to pay for it. You have to deal with it, which is a part of what, our frustration. But to answer your question, yeah, it's actually you can go after the person who prompted it because if you're trying to make SpongeBob, if you're trying to make Britney Spears, right, you intentionally did this, but
Mm,
also it's the platform that facilitated the infringement.
interesting.
Another piece of this that I think I look at different shifts in technology over the years. And when there's something new that's breaking an old paradigm, there is a tendency to hold on to what was before and be precious about it. But a lot of times the technology platforms do not care. They are steamrolling this technology forward, regardless of what we think. And I know the legal side sometimes takes years of things to play out to really come down. And then you've got a precedent set of, what's going to happen thereafter. But I feel like, just common everyday people, musicians, like AI is here to stay. We shouldn't put our heads in the sand. We should figure out how to use it and ethically and morally and as a tool, not as a replacement for things entirely. But it's the Wild West still as to how some of this is going to play out. And Crystal, I know you're actively involved in those conversations.
We're trying to make sure that independent music creators have a seat. That's been my one of the biggest driving forces for everything that I do for Top Music Attorney. That's why I started the channel. But there came a point where there's a lot of talking and then there's the doing. We want to do something, and every time there's been some legislation passed or there's been some agreement that was put into place between the streaming platforms and all these other companies, independent music creators have never had a seat, have never had a say in anything. So we're changing that.
And honestly, independent music artists probably represent the majority of the music that was scraped by Suno, which is the irony is that like they're under talks with the three majors to negotiate and probably get paid billions of dollars. And then the indie artists are going to be kind of just by proxy agreeing to whatever the major labels agree and get $0.
I will throw a mention here of an organization called Merlin that Fixed is a member of. It's not a union, but it is a representative body on behalf of all of its label members, and they're negotiating deals with the DSPs and with some of these platforms. We're participating in a deal between Merlin and 11 Labs, and we had to choose if we wanted to participate in this licensing. And as master owners of our catalog, we could have put all of our music in, but we actually went out to our artists and got artist opt-in if they wanted their music into this deal as well. So we only have a very limited portion of our catalog going into this, but we're exploring it. And our view is these platforms are going to do this without our permission. We may as well be properly compensated somewhere and be at the table and have somebody representing us in some of those deals. And I know a lot of independent artists are not, members of an organization like Merlin. You have to have a certain size of operations to become a member and be able to handle certain requirements that independent artists don't always have. But a lot of independent labels do. So I'm a fan of Merlin and other rights organizations like that, like A2IM as well.